Welcome to the lecture video on the subject BT362 Sustainable Energy Processes, and we will be dealing with the module 6 fuel cells. So the topics under fuel cells are alkaline fuel cells, phosphoric acid fuel cells, molten carbonate fuel cell, solid oxide fuel cell, solid polymer electrolyte fuel cells, and these are actually the classification of fuel cells. And the next part is magneto-hydrodynamic systems, electric vehicles, energy storage routes like thermal, chemical, mechanical, electrical storage, and batteries. So first we will be dealing with the classification of fuel cells and fuel cells. The first part. So what is actually a fuel cell? A fuel cell is an electrochemical device that produces electricity without combustion by combining hydrogen and oxygen to produce water and heat. This is actually a simple definition. So let's see what is actually a fuel cell. A fuel cell is a device that converts chemical potential energy. What is actually chemical potential energy? The energy which is stored in molecular bonds. This chemical energy is getting converted into electrical energy. A PEM, that is proton exchange membrane cell, is the one we use here. It uses hydrogen gas H2 and oxygen gas O2 as fuel. It has got two electrodes and electrolyte. So we are using hydrogen gas as one electrode and oxygen gas another electrode, and there will be electrolyte solution. The products of the reaction are water, electricity, and heat. So these are the products which we are getting. We are getting electricity, that is chemical energy is getting converted into electrical energy. Thereby we are getting electricity, and along with that we are getting water and heat. So is there any difference between fuel cell and battery? Let's see. Fuel cell is similar to a battery in that an electrochemical reaction occurs as long as fuel is available. That is, both the process happening is same because electrochemical reaction is happening. But the difference is that in a fuel cell we are using fuel. That is, the fuels are hydrogen and oxygen. Hydrogen will be stored in the anode and oxygen will be stored in the cathode. Hydrogen is stored in a pressurized container and oxygen taken from the air. The biggest difference between battery and fuel cell is that fuel cell generates energy, whereas a battery stores energy. That is the main difference. Fuel cell generates energy and battery stores energy. Fuel cell works in an open system, whereas a battery works in a closed system. Also, a fuel cell can have a battery as a system component to store the electricity it's generating. Also, the heat generated in fuel cells are more as compared to batteries. So, there's a slight difference between battery and a fuel cell. Fuel cell and battery both works under the principle of electrochemical reaction. The chemical energy is getting converted into electrical energy. And also, in a fuel cell, there is the byproducts along with the electricity are water and heat. So water will be in the purest form, and heat depends upon the temperature conditions. Heat may be more as compared to batteries. And also, um, a battery has got a lifetime, a definite lifetime. But in case of a fuel cell, it has got an indefinite lifetime as long as the fuel we are externally supplying. The fuel supplied are hydrogen and oxygen. The hydrogen will be in the anode and the oxygen will be in the cathode. And there will be electrolyte solution. So this was discovered by the German scientist C.F. Schonbein and first developed by William Grove. In 1839, Grove was experimenting on electrolysis, the process by which water is split into hydrogen and oxygen by an electric current, which he observed that combining the same elements could also produce an electric current. So let's see the figure of a fuel cell. Here you can see there is an anode and cathode. In the anode, you can see the hydrogen fuel, and in the cathode, oxygen gas. And anode and cathode will be connected using the electrolyte. And there is no electron flow between anode and cathode. The electron flow has to happen only when we are connecting externally anode to cathode through a wire. That is called the electric current. The electric current will be passing through that wire which we connect, and there will be electron flow when we connect a load across it. And here we can see another figure. The hydrogen, excess hydrogen for reuse, the hydrogen we are using and the oxygen we are using, and byproducts are water, heat, and electricity, electric power we are getting. And also we are using a catalyst in between anode and cathode. What is actually a catalyst? A catalyst separates the hydrogen ions, that is the positive ions, from the electrons. For that only we are using a catalyst. Catalyst just separates the protons from electrons. Catalyst can be of any metal, proactive metals we can use there. So let's see the working of a fuel cell power plant. How the electricity is generated in a fuel cell power plant. Actually, the electrical energy is generated from fossil fuel through a fuel cell. Here you can see the block diagram. The fossil fuel we are taking, and it is being processed in a fuel processing unit. And the processed fuel actually is reformed, it is purified, and this purified fuel is given to the fuel cell modules. So what is actually fuel cell module? A fuel cell module convert fuel energy electrochemically into DC power using ambient air as oxidant. Here you can see in the figure, air is given. Air is given, and along with that the hydrogen fuel processing, from the fuel processing we are getting the hydrogen fuel. The hydrogen fuel, and along with the air, it is actually converting the chemical energy into electrical energy. So what is actually a fuel cell module? A number of fuel cells are stacked to form modules. So when the fuel cells are stacked together, it forms modules. And several such modules are interconnected to form a power generating unit. When these modules are interconnected together, we will get a power generating unit. So actually the energy, the electrical energy which we are getting is DC from the fuel cell modules. And this DC is getting converted into AC through an inverter. And this AC is given to the electrical power distribution, where the appliances, the household appliances, everything can be connected to the needies, power to the needy. And all these modules are controlled by a central unit to meet the requirement. That is the control unit. The control unit controls all these modules. And also here you can see from the fuel cell modules steam is generated. This steam is actually given to the fuel processing unit. The importance is that for the purification and reformation of fuel, the steam is important. So in that way also we are getting the purified fuel to the fuel cell modules. So this is actually a fuel cell based electrical power generating plant, and this is how electrical energy is generated from fossil fuel through a fuel cell. Next, let's see some of the advantages of this fuel cell over the conventional energy sources. Conventional energy sources, what is conventional, non-conventional? Conventional energy sources are like coal, petroleum, and all these sources. What is happening is that lot of greenhouse gases, everything combustion, it's happening through combustion. So lot of emissions are formed which is harmful to us. That's why we are depending on non-conventional. So in the fuel cell, the advantages are they produce zero or very low emissions, especially greenhouse gases. depending upon the fuel used. And what fuel we are actually using? The hydrogen and the oxygen. Next is have few moving parts and thus require minimal maintenance, reducing life cycle cost of energy production. So it's actually reducing the life cycle cost of energy production because the moving parts are minimum. Modular in design, offering flexibility. It's of small size, so it's modular. It's offering flexibility and efficiency in manufacturing, can be utilized for combined heat and power purposes. Further increases the efficiency of energy production. Let's see the working principle. So, a fuel cell is a device that uses hydrogen or hydrogen-rich fuel and oxygen to create electricity by an electrochemical process, as we explained in the previous slides. A single fuel cell consists of an electrolyte sandwiched between two thin electrodes. As I already mentioned, there are two electrodes, anode and cathode. Anode will be the hydrogen fuel and cathode will be the oxygen fuel, and there will be that is a porous anode and cathode, and it is sandwiched between an electrolyte. Electrolyte is the solution in which these two are dipped. Hydrogen or a hydrogen-rich fuel is fed to the anode, where a catalyst separates hydrogen's negatively charged electrons from positively charged protons. As I have discussed before, there is a catalyst. The purpose of catalyst is to separate the hydrogen ions from the hydrogen negative charged ions from protons, positively charged ions. At the cathode, oxygen combines with electrons and in some cases with species such as protons or water, resulting in water or hydroxide ions respectively. And at the cathode side, they are explaining that is it combines with the oxygen, oxygen combines with the electrons, and in some cases with species such as protons or water, resulting in the hydroxide respectively. The resultants are hydroxide ions and water. The electrons from the anode side of the cell cannot pass through the membrane. And which is that membrane actually? The membrane is the proton exchange membrane, PEM, PEM cell. So they cannot travel. They cannot pass from the membrane to the positively charged cathode. They must travel around it via an electrical circuit to reach the other side of the cell. So externally, using a wire only, we can transfer these electrons. That means electric current can pass. This movement of electrons is called an electric current, as you know. The amount of power produced by a fuel cell depends upon several factors such as fuel cell type, cell size, the temperature at which it operates, and the pressure at which the gases are supplied to the cell. So these are the important factors which depends on the power produced. So what are the factors? Fuel cell type, whether it is an alkaline fuel cell or solid oxide fuel cell or membrane fuel cell, different types of polymer membrane fuel cells, different types of fuel cell types are there. So it depends upon the type and the size, the temperature ranges from low to high, like 200 degrees Celsius, 500 degrees Celsius, 180 degrees Celsius, it depends. And the pressure of at which the gases, the hydrogen gas and the oxygen gas, we are supplying hydrogen to the anode and oxygen to the cathode. So the pressure at which it supplies, these are the factors which the power produced depends. Still, a single fuel cell produces enough electricity for only the smallest applications. So only for small applications only we are using this fuel cell. Therefore, individual fuel cells are typically combined in series into a fuel cell stack. So fuel cell stack means a number of fuel cells connected in series forms a fuel cell stack. So it can be used in more applications. A typical fuel cell stack may consist of 100 of fuel cells. So let's see the classification of fuel cells. Fuel cells are classified primarily by the kind of electrolyte they employ. So till now we have discussed about the electrodes, the gases which we are supplying, the fuels, everything. Now we are depending upon the electrolyte which we are using. So the different kinds of electrolytes are, this determines the kind of chemical reaction that takes place in the cell, the kind of catalyst required, the temperature range in which the cell operates, the fuel required, and other factors. So based on the type of electrolyte, first one is AFC, that is alkaline fuel cell. Next is phosphoric acid fuel cell, PAFC. Next is polymer electrolyte membrane fuel cell, that is PEMFC, and this is of two types, solid polymer fuel cell and proton exchange membrane fuel cell. And fourth is molten carbonate fuel cell, MCFC, and solid oxide, last one is solid oxide fuel cell. So these five we are going to explain in detail. So first is alkaline fuel cell. In an alkaline fuel cell, it uses alkaline electrolyte such as 40% of aqueous potassium hydroxide. See, the electrolyte used in AFC is aqueous potassium hydroxide. That is 40% of aqueous potassium hydroxide is used. In alkaline fuel cells, negative ions travel through the electrolyte to the anode where they combine with hydrogen to generate water and electrons. So in alkaline fuel cells, negative ions travel through the electrolyte to the anode. Through the electrolyte, the negative ions travel to the anode. So from the cathode, it is traveling to the anode where they combine with hydrogen. In the anode, in the anode, it is of hydrogen fuel cell, and in the cathode, it is of oxygen. So the O negative ions, oxygen negative ions will combine with the hydrogen. Because in the anode we are having hydrogen, so they combine with the hydrogen to generate water and electrons. Alkaline fuel cells were one of the first fuel cell technology developed, and they were first tried widely used in the US space program to produce electrical energy and water on board spacecraft. These fuel cells use a solution of potassium hydroxide in water, that is the electrolyte, as the electrolyte, and can use a variety of non-precious metals as a catalyst at the anode and cathode. So what is the use of catalyst? Catalyst helps to prevent the mixing of protons and electrons. So we are using non-precious metals as a catalyst here. High temperature AFCs operate at temperatures between 100 degrees Celsius and 252 degrees Celsius. However, more recent AFC design operate at lower temperature of roughly 23 degrees Celsius to 70 degrees Celsius. So previously they were using 100 or 250 degree temperatures, and now they are working on the designs of the range 23 to 70 degrees Celsius. Alkaline fuel cells are high performance fuel cells due to the rate at which chemical reactions takes place in the cell. So here you can see they are very efficient, reaching efficiencies of 60% in space applications they are using. The AFC they are using in 60% in space applications because because they have got high performance fuel cells due to the rate at which the chemical reactions takes place. The disadvantage of this type of fuel cell is that it's easily poisoned by carbon dioxide. So this is the main disadvantage. The carbon dioxide, uh, when it comes in reaction with the carbon dioxide, it gets easily poisoned. In fact, even a small amount of carbon dioxide in the air can affect the cell's operation. So in the air, every gas is present, no? So the carbon dioxide, when it comes in reaction to this alkaline fuel cell, it gets poisoned and affects the cell's operation, making it necessary to purify both the hydrogen and oxygen used in the cell. It actually damages the cell's operation. CO2 can combine with KOH, that is potassium hydroxide, to form potassium carbonate, which will increase the resistance. This purification process is costly. Susceptibility to poisoning also affects the cell's lifetime, further adding to cost. So these are some of the disadvantages. Cost is less of a factor for remote locations such as space or under the sea. However, to effectively compete in most mainstream commercial markets, these fuel cells will have to become more cost effective, and AFC stacks have been shown to maintain sufficiently stable operation for more than 8,000 operating hours. For we will get 8,000 operating hours in a stable condition. So there are some advantages and disadvantages in AFC. So the main electrolyte used is potassium hydroxide in aqueous, that is 40% of aqueous. Here we can see the figure of alkaline fuel cell. Here you can see there is an anode and cathode, and between the electrolyte, that is hydroxide, that is the reactions we can see in the anode hydrogen fuel, and in the cathode oxygen is supplied from the air. And what is happening is that the electrons, that is O negative ions from cathode is getting to the anode, and we are getting the reaction as H2O. In the anode reaction, you can see 2Ha2 plus 4OH giving 4H2O plus 4 electrons. And similarly, in the cathode, you can see O2 plus 2H2O plus 4 electron giving 4OH negative. So this is how it works. This figure is important, and these chemical reactions are the reactions which we are happening. So you should study all this. Next type is molten carbonate fuel cell. So here also the electrolyte will be what? Molten carbonate salt. We are using the electrolyte as molten carbonate salt. And the advantage is that it has the potential to be fueled with coal derived fuel gases like methane or natural gas. It can be fueled. This molten carbonate salt can be fueled with coal derived. Instead of hydrogen, we can use here methane or natural gas. That is the advantage. And these fuel cells can work at up to 60% efficiency, and in molten carbonate fuel cells, negative ions travel through the electrolyte to the anode, where they combine with hydrogen to generate water and electrons. Same as we previously explained, the negative ions and the O negative ions will combine with the hydrogen ions in the anode, and we are getting the products water and electrons, the H2O and electrons. And I have already discussed, in case of hydrogen, we can use here methane or natural gas as electrons. MCFCs, that is molten carbonate fuel cells, are currently being developed for natural gas and coal-based power plants for electrical utility, industrial and military applications. For these and all, we are using, in military applications, we are using, instead of hydrogen, we are using CH4. MCFCs are high temperature fuel cells that use electrolyte composed of a molten carbonate salt mixture suspended in a porous, chemically inert ceramic lithium aluminum oxide matrix. Since they operate at high temperature of 650 degrees Celsius and above, non-precious metals can be used as catalyst at the anode and cathode to reduce cost. Here also we are using catalyst. Unlike alkaline, phosphoric acid and PEM fuel cells that we are going to explain it later, MCFCs don't require an external reformer to convert more energy dense fuels to hydrogen, because already in the electrical fuel cell power plant we discussed about the fuel cell processing unit, no? So actually they are reforming or purifying the fossils. So actually here there is no requirement of reformer, because internally the reforming is happening. How that internal reformation is happening? It's because it is working in a very high temperature. Due to this high operating temperature itself, that the reformation of the fuel is happening automatically. So there is no need for external fuel processing unit. So that means internal reformation is happening, which reduces cost. That means these fuels are converted into hydrogen within the fuel cell itself. Although they are more resistant to impurities than other fuel cell types, ways to make MCFCs resistant enough to impurities from coal such as sulfur and particulates are under research. The primary disadvantage of MCFC is durability. High temperature operation and corrosive nature of electrolyte accelerates component breakdown and corrosion, decreasing cell life. This is the disadvantage. Because of this high temperature and high temperature operation, corrosive nature of electrolyte, it decreases the cell's life. Corrosion resistant material for component as well as fuel cell designs are explored to increase cell life without decreasing performance. Here we can see the chemical reactions happening. In the anode side there is hydrogen ions, and in the cathode there will be oxygen ions, and electrons from the oxygen is getting to the hydrogen through the electrolyte and thus forming H2O and water and heat outside, and carbon dioxide is getting combined there with the oxygen, and we are getting CO3 2 minus carbonates. And the reactions here is explained. Anode reaction, what is happening is that the carbonate and the hydrogen ions getting carbon dioxide and water. In the cathode reaction, the carbon dioxide which is releasing from the anode, carbon dioxide which is getting releasing from the products which are released from the anode is getting passed to the cathode. And in the cathode reaction, that is CO2 plus half O2 of 2 electrons giving carbonates, and the overall cell reaction giving hydrogen plus O2 giving H2O. Next is phosphoric acid fuel cell, that is PAFC. In phosphoric acid fuel cell is considered as the first generation of modern fuel cell, and it is one of the most mature cell types and the first to be used commercially. So this was considered as the first generation of modern fuel cells. They are 85% efficient. So compared to alkaline fuel cell and carbonate fuel cell, molten carbonate fuel cell, here this phosphoric acid fuel cell is much more efficient. The other one was 60% efficiency. Here 85% we are getting when used for the cogeneration of electricity, but less efficient as compared to generating electricity alone. We are getting always we are getting electricity and heat. Electricity alone, it is very difficult. There at that time we will get only 37 to 42% of efficiency. PFCs are also less powerful other than fuel cells given the same weight and volume. As a result, these fuel cells are typically large and heavy, and they are expensive. Like PEM, that is proton exchange membrane, PFCs require an expensive platinum catalyst which raises the cost. Here the catalyst used is platinum, thereby the cost of the fuel cell is also increasing. PFC consists of an anode and a cathode made of finely dispersed platinum catalyst on carbon and silicon carbide structure that holds a phosphoric acid electrolyte. The electrolyte used here is phosphoric acid. So protons move through the electrolyte to the cathode to combine with oxygen and electrons, producing water and heat. So it is in the reverse way. That means the hydrogen ions is getting combined with the oxygen ions, producing water and heat. That is from the anode, it is moving to the cathode. From the anode, it is moving to the cathode, thereby producing water and heat. A PFC uses liquid phosphoric acid as an electrolyte. The acid is contained in Teflon bonded silicon carbide matrix. And porous carbon electrodes containing a platinum catalyst. Here we are using a platinum catalyst and a liquid phosphoric acid as an electrolyte. Because of this platinum catalyst, the cost is very high. This type of fuel cell is typically used for stationary power generation, but some PFC have been used to power large vehicles such as city buses. PFCs are more tolerant of impurities. Here you can see PFC's figure. That is, here you can see the hydrogen ions from the anode is moved to the cathode. That H plus ions is getting combined with the oxygen and thus generating H2O, and we are getting heat and water out. Next is polymer electrolyte membrane fuel cell, that is PEMFC. In polymer electrolyte membrane fuel cell, protons move through the electrolyte to the cathode to combine with oxygen and electrons, producing water and heat. Here also the same is happening. The protons are moving to the electrons. That is, to the cathode it is moving to combine with oxygen and thus producing water and heat. PEMFC use a polymeric membrane as electrolyte with platinum electrodes, and these cells operate at relatively low temperature. These cells are best suited for cars, for buildings and smaller applications. PM fuel cell, also called proton exchange membrane fuel cell, deliver here it delivers high power density and offer the advantage of low weight and volume compared to other fuel cells. PM fuel cell uses solid polymer as an electrolyte and porous carbon electrons containing a platinum catalyst. They also use hydrogen and oxygen from the air and water to separate and do not require corrosive fluids like some fuel cells. Here you can see the electrolyte used is solid polymer and porous carbon electrodes. Carbon electrodes also they are using, and they are telling they can use hydrogen and oxygen from the air also. These both they can use, porous carbon electrodes and hydrogen or oxygen. They do not require any corrosive fluids like fuel cells. Here they operate at a relatively low temperature, 80 degrees Celsius. They are typically fueled with pure hydrogen supplied from storage tanks on board reformers. On-board reformers means internally reformation is happening. No. Not because here the temperature is low, no. So they require a fuel processing unit here. A fuel processing unit here because the temperature is less here. So the fuel need to be reformed. So for that the processing unit separate we need. The temperature, the working temperature is very low, 80 degrees Celsius. Low temperature operation allows them to start quickly, less warm up time, and results in less wear on system components, results in better durability. The life of the cell also will be better because the temperature is less. However, it requires that a noble metal catalyst, typically platinum, to separate the hydrogen electrons and protons, adding to system cost. Whenever we use a platinum catalyst, the fuel cell cost is also increasing. And also it is extremely poisoning agent to carbon monoxide, sensitive to carbon monoxide. When it combines with carbon monoxide, poisoning will happen and making it necessary to employ an additional reactor to reduce carbon monoxide in the fuel gas if the hydrogen is derived from an alcohol or hydrocarbon fuel. So it is important to see that it does not react with carbon monoxide, then it becomes poisoning. So for that we require an additional reactor. So this also add cost. Developers are currently exploring platinum or ruthenium catalysts that are more resistant to carbon monoxide. Here you can see a PEMFC cell. The hydrogen ions from the hydrogen fuel cell is getting combined with the oxygen and we are getting with the products water and heat outside. And here you can see the anode and cathode reactions. H2 giving 2H plus 2 electrons and cathode half O2 plus 2H plus 2 electron giving H2O. And last one is the solid oxide fuel cell. it works at higher temperature. They use a solid ceramic electrolyte, which is zirconium oxide, stabilized with yttrium oxide. So here the electrolyte is solid instead of a liquid, and it operates at a temperature 800 to 1000 degrees Celsius. And in SOFC, negative ions travel through the electrolyte to the anode where they combine with hydrogen. So here it is in the reverse way. The negative ions, that is the O negative ions, getting combined with the hydrogen to generate water electrons. Efficiency is of around 60% and are expected to be used for generating electricity and heat in industry and potentially for providing auxiliary power in vehicles. Since electrolyte is a solid, the cells need not be constructed in the plate-like configuration typically of other fuel cell types. So because the electrolyte is already a solid structure. High temperature operation removes the need for precious metal catalysts, thereby reducing cost, because already it removes the impurities. So high temperature removes the need for metal catalyst, because thereby cost reduction is happening, because metal catalyst like platinum is very costly. They are not poisoned by carbon monoxide, which can even be useful as a fuel. Sulfur resistant. This allows SOFCs to use gases made from coal. The scientists are currently exploring the potential for developing low temperature SOFCs operating at or below 800 degrees Celsius that have fewer durability problems and costless. They are trying to, because of high temperature, it reduces cost because the metal catalyst usage is getting lower, and also they are trying to reduce its temperature. Thereby the durability problems can be reduced. The lifetime will get reduced. For that we need less temperature. So the scientists are still exploring to reduce this temperature. And here you can see at the anode section, hydrogen and oxygen is combining to form H2O and 2 electrons, and carbon monoxide getting combined CO2 into electrons. At the cathode side you can see the electrons forming, and the overall reaction getting water and carbon dioxide. Advantages are it includes high efficiency, fuel flexibility, low emissions, and relatively low cost. And SOFCs are used extensively in large and small stationary power generation. And this is the figure for this. The oxygen electrons is getting combined with the hydrogen and forming water and heat. And the reactions, you can see the overall reactions forming carbon dioxide and water. So next part will be MHD, that is my magnetohydrodynamics, and the fuel cell and the batteries and the electrical roots, chemical roots. These and all we can explain in the next session. I hope you understood. Thank you all for listening.